In Hollywood, timing is everything. Sometimes a statement, a glance, or even a single word can send the entire internet into a frenzy. And that's exactly what happened when Ben Affleck found himself at the center of a sudden controversy, only for Jennifer Garner, his ex-wife and one of Hollywood's most respected stars, to make a rare public statement shortly afterward. While many might assume her comment was just a casual reflection, anyone familiar with Jennifer's history knows she rarely speaks out publicly about personal matters, especially involving Ben. That's what immediately made this moment intriguing. Ben and Jennifer's story has always captivated the public. They shared 13 years together, built a life in the Hollywood spotlight, and then parted ways in 2018. Even after their divorce, their shared history continues to attract attention. From interviews to casual mentions in the media, audiences remain deeply invested in what either of them does or says. And so when Ben Affleck publicly responded to a claim made by reality TV star Lisa Barlow, his dismissive remarks ignited discussion and speculation online. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, Jennifer spoke. Her words weren't aimed at anyone directly, and they weren't dramatic in tone, but the timing couldn't have been more conspicuous. Fans immediately began questioning whether her comment was purely coincidental or a subtle response to Ben's behavior. Jennifer Garner is known for her grace, composure, and reluctance to engage in public drama. Unlike many Hollywood stars, she doesn't chase headlines, and she certainly doesn't participate in viral feuds. That's why her rare statement immediately grabbed attention. Her comments revolved around privacy, restraint, and the art of staying silent, themes she has long championed in her professional and personal life. It was a simple reflection on her days working on Alias, her struggle to keep major plot points secret, and the care required in revealing information. Yet, in this particular context, her reflections resonated far beyond her acting career. They were immediately interpreted as a subtle reminder about measured responses, discretion, and perhaps even an indirect commentary on Ben's recent public bluntness. Timing plays a critical role here. In Hollywood, the audience is always watching, analyzing, and interpreting. When Jennifer chooses to speak, it's deliberate, even if it appears casual. And in this case, the timing aligned perfectly with Ben's public controversy. This gave fans and the media plenty of material to speculate about possible underlying messages. Was Jennifer simply reflecting on her own experience, or was she quietly making a statement about what it means to handle personal matters with care? The ambiguity is what made her words so compelling. Even the phrasing she chose drew attention. Words like "scared to say anything" and "never said a word" highlighted a philosophy of restraint that contrasted sharply with Ben's more impulsive, direct, and sometimes dismissive public persona. Jennifer's words reminded the audience that sometimes silence carries more weight than words, and in Hollywood, where even the smallest comment can trigger headlines, her approach was a quiet yet potent statement in itself. Ultimately, this introduction sets the stage for a story that isn't just about controversy. It's about timing, contrast, and the power of subtlety. The public is fascinated not merely by what was said, but by how, when, and why it was said. And to understand the full impact of Jennifer's comment, we first need to go back to the moment that sparked the entire controversy: Lisa Barlow's statement. The chain of events that led to this flurry of speculation began with a seemingly casual comment from Lisa Barlow, star of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. During a recent episode, she discussed her busy life and casually mentioned that she had social interactions with notable Hollywood personalities. Then, in a line that immediately caught viewers' attention, she said, "I'm not gonna drop names, like, I'll be with Ben and Blake." Simple words. Yet in Hollywood, even simple words can ignite massive reactions, especially when they involve celebrity names as famous as Ben Affleck and Blake Lively. The statement might have seemed casual to some, but for the public and media, it became instant fodder for speculation. How could one reality TV comment spark such interest? The answer lies in the combination of celebrity fascination, ambiguity, and the human love for intrigue. Lisa's comment was intentionally vague. She didn't provide context or details about the meeting or event. She simply mentioned the names and moved on. And that vagueness was precisely what fueled curiosity. Audiences immediately started asking questions. Was this a casual, social hangout, or something more meaningful? Was Lisa exaggerating for dramatic effect, or was she providing a rare glimpse into Hollywood's inner circles? The lack of clarification left the public to fill in the gaps with speculation, making the comment viral almost instantly. Social media reacted within minutes. Clips of Lisa's statement circulated widely, and fans began dissecting every word. Online discussions sprang up, analyzing tone, intent, and potential implications. Headlines quickly followed. Some media outlets framed the comment as an attention-grabbing tactic tactic by Lisa, while others treated it as a genuine insight into celebrity social life. Viewers were divided. Some praised her transparency, some criticized her for oversharing, and many were simply captivated by the possibility of behind-the-scenes celebrity interactions. This was the spark that set everything else into motion. Suddenly, the focus shifted from a casual reality TV comment to a larger narrative involving Ben Affleck. Fans were eager to know how he would respond. After all, when a name as high-profile as Ben Affleck's is casually mentioned in a public forum, reactions are inevitable. And the world didn't have to wait long. His response would only escalate the situation, creating the perfect storm that made Jennifer Garner's timing even more noteworthy. Lisa's one-line comment, therefore, wasn't just a passing remark. It became the catalyst for media frenzy, public speculation, and social media debate. It illustrated how, in the world of celebrities, even offhand comments can quickly escalate into full-blown controversies. And as attention shifted to Ben's response, the next chapter in this saga would soon unfold, one that sharply contrasted with Jennifer Garner's measured approach. The moment Lisa Barlow casually dropped the names of Ben Affleck and Blake Lively, the public was already curious. But what truly escalated the situation was Ben Affleck's response, or rather, his almost dismissive lack of acknowledgement. When asked by Access Hollywood about the claim, Ben simply said he didn't even remember who Lisa Barlow was. It was short, it was blunt, and for many, it was unmistakably cold. There was no softening, no joke, no clarification, just a simple line that seemed to dismiss both the claim and the person entirely. That kind of response in Hollywood is never neutral. Every word, every pause, every tone is analyzed. In this case, his words instantly sparked a frenzy of reactions online. Fans and commentators were quick to interpret Ben's words in different ways. Some praised him for being straightforward, assuming he was simply being honest about not remembering the encounter. Others criticized him for being unnecessarily harsh, arguing that a more neutral response could have avoided fueling speculation. And some saw it as classic Ben Affleck, direct, unapologetic, and perhaps a bit too dismissive for public comfort. Social media was, as expected, ablaze. Clips of Ben's statement were shared widely, and forums exploded with debates over whether he was defending his personal boundaries or unintentionally adding fuel to the controversy. Tweets ranged from supportive to critical, from humorous memes to thoughtful analyses of his personality and past behavior. The dichotomy of responses perfectly illustrated how high-profile figures like Ben are never evaluated purely on the content of their statements. Tone, context, and public perception matter as much as, if not more than, the actual words. And while the public debated Ben's response, Jennifer Garner's statement quietly emerged on the scene, immediately creating a contrast that everyone noticed. Whereas Ben's approach was immediate, blunt, and public-facing, Jennifer's words were reflective, measured, and full of nuance. She spoke about restraint, the challenge of keeping secrets, and the art of discretion, themes that directly contrasted with Ben's impulsive dismissal. Fans and media couldn't ignore the stark difference. One spoke with immediate reaction, the other with thoughtful reflection. This contrast amplified the story even further. It wasn't just about a reality TV claim anymore. It was about personality, approach, and timing. Ben's bluntness made him the center of public discussion, while Jennifer's measured commentary became a subtle counterpoint, almost a lesson in handling sensitive information with grace. Moreover, Ben's response underscored a recurring theme in celebrity culture. The public is always watching, and every reaction is scrutinized. Even a single dismissive line can dominate headlines, drive social media discourse, and create ripples that extend far beyond the initial comment. And in this case, it created the perfect backdrop for Jennifer Garner's statement to resonate even more powerfully. In essence, Ben's dismissive response served as a dramatic catalyst. It escalated the situation from a casual comment by Lisa Barlow into a full-blown public spectacle, and in doing so, it made the timing and tone of Jennifer Garner's words impossible to ignore. Fans were suddenly not just observing a controversy, they were witnessing a striking contrast between two former partners, one reactive and blunt, the other measured and intentional. This was the point where the story truly shifted. What began as a single comment on a reality show had transformed into a high-profile narrative about public perception, timing, and emotional intelligence in Hollywood. And that set the stage for Jennifer Garner to make her rare but profoundly impactful statement, one that would captivate audiences precisely because of how carefully she chose her words. As the media spotlight intensified around Ben Affleck's dismissive response, Jennifer Garner's statement quietly emerged, and instantly it drew attention, not because of drama, confrontation, or celebrity gossip, but because of its subtlety and thoughtfulness. In her rare public interview, Jennifer reflected on her days starring in Alias, the hit ABC series that required her to keep countless plot twists secret from co-stars, crew, and even fans. She recalled how challenging it was to maintain discretion in an environment where one wrong word could spoil an entire storyline. "You should have seen back in Alias land," she said. "I was scared scared to say anything. I never said a word. Simple, seemingly casual words. Yet for fans and media observers, the timing, context, and underlying meaning made them resonate far beyond the scope of her acting career. Unlike Ben's direct and almost confrontational public response to Lisa Barlow, Jennifer's words were reflective and deliberate. She spoke not in reaction to anyone in particular, but about her own experiences navigating the pressures of a high-profile career, privacy, and the responsibility of handling sensitive information. What made her statement compelling was precisely that it was not sensationalized. Jennifer did not name Ben, Lisa Barlow, or any other party involved in the recent controversy. She did not comment on relationships, social encounters, or celebrity gossip. Yet, the media and fans immediately drew connections between her commentary on secrecy and the timing of Ben's dismissive remarks. This is the kind of subtlety that Jennifer has long mastered, speaking in a way that maintains her integrity while still commanding attention. Her reflection on the careful restraint she practiced during Alias suddenly seemed like a quiet lesson in handling sensitive situations thoughtfully, in stark contrast to Ben's impulsive and dismissive approach. Audiences also appreciated Jennifer's consistency. For years, she has been known as someone who prioritizes grace over confrontation, choosing silence when most others might speak out. Even following her separation from Ben in 2018, she rarely engaged in public commentary about their relationship, co-parenting, or personal matters. Her statement on secrecy, therefore, was not out of character. Rather, it reinforced the perception that she is thoughtful, controlled, and intentional with her words. Furthermore, Jennifer's phrasing carried an emotional weight that the public quickly noticed. Phrases like "scared to say anything" and "never said a word" evoked a sense of caution and discipline that contrasted sharply with the immediate, reactive energy of Ben's statement. Fans and social media observers quickly began to interpret her words as more than a personal anecdote. They were a subtle reminder of the value of discretion, the power of measured communication, and the strength in staying calm under public scrutiny. This section of the story also highlighted the fascinating interplay between timing, context, and personality. Ben's comment had been loud, public, and attention-grabbing. Jennifer's, on the other hand, was quiet, reflective, and intentional. It reminded viewers that sometimes impact does not come from volume or sensationalism, but from the thoughtful, measured delivery of words, a principle Jennifer has embodied throughout her career. In essence, her statement became a powerful focal point for discussion. It showed that one can influence public perception without engaging in drama by simply articulating a thoughtful perspective at the right moment. Fans were captivated not by conflict, but by the quiet, controlled authority in her words. In a world obsessed with immediate reactions and viral statements, Jennifer's approach stood out, proving that silence, timing, and subtlety can speak louder than 100 headlines. The moment Jennifer Garner's statement was released, the public reaction was immediate, not just to what she said, but to the context surrounding it. Timing, tone, and subtlety became the main points of discussion. Fans, commentators, and gossip platforms began dissecting her words, comparing them to Ben Affleck's dismissive response and speculating about whether her message carried more meaning than the words themselves conveyed. This is the kind of scenario where social media thrives. Every phrase is analyzed, every timing scrutinized, and every possible implication dissected. For many fans, the intrigue lay in the contrast between the two former partners. Ben's reaction to Lisa Barlow's claim was immediate, public, and blunt. It was the type of response that leaves no room for ambiguity. He didn't remember Lisa, and that was that. Jennifer's response, on the other hand, was deliberate, introspective, and reflective. She did not name anyone, she did not address the controversy, and yet her words resonated in the public sphere precisely because they seemed to offer a quiet lesson on discretion, patience, and restraint. This contrast fueled speculation. Some fans argued that Jennifer's statement was a subtle critique of Ben's public approach. After all, she was highlighting the value of silence, careful consideration, and measured responses, qualities that seemed to be absent from Ben's immediate dismissal. Others were more cautious, emphasizing that Jennifer could simply have been reflecting on her own experiences from Alias, without any intent to comment on current events. Still, others pointed out that in Hollywood, nothing is ever entirely coincidental, and the timing of her statement seemed too perfect to ignore. Social media users quickly began connecting dots. Hashtags related to Jennifer and Ben surged. Threads compared her career-long emphasis on discretion to Ben's more impulsive persona. Analysis ranged from emotional interpretations suggesting Jennifer embodies thoughtfulness and integrity to humorous takes where people joked about the power of silence versus the power of bluntness. The fascination wasn't just about the comments themselves. It was about personality, timing, and context. Audiences were drawn to the story precisely because it showed two very different approaches to public perception, social interaction, and conflict management. This level of scrutiny also reflects the broader way fans engage with celebrity behavior. In today's social media-driven culture, audiences are adept at reading between the lines. Every word is evaluated for subtext, every pause is analyzed for intention, and every seemingly innocent anecdote is examined for hidden meaning. Jennifer's statement offered exactly the type of content that encourages this kind of engagement. She spoke in generalities about secrecy and discipline, but the public couldn't help drawing connections to the ongoing Ben Affleck controversy. Her words were subtle, but their impact was magnified by interpretation. Moreover, the fan fascination highlights a larger cultural tendency. Audiences are drawn to narratives of contrast, tension, and juxtaposition. In this case, the story wasn't just about Ben, Jennifer, or Lisa Barlow. It was about the way different personalities navigate public life. Ben represented immediate, unfiltered response. Jennifer represented reflection, restraint, and strategy. By appearing almost in the background, Jennifer's words became more powerful precisely because they weren't loud, defensive, or reactionary. Ultimately, the reason fans are reading between the lines is that Jennifer's timing and phrasing invite interpretation without demanding it. She doesn't overtly criticize or comment, yet the public naturally finds meaning in her careful words. It's a fascinating study in contrast, subtlety, and the psychological power of measured communication. The impact of her statement demonstrates that in a world obsessed with immediate reaction, sometimes quiet reflection can command more attention than the loudest headline. To truly understand the impact of Jennifer Garner's words, it's essential to consider the shared history between her and Ben Affleck. Their story isn't just about celebrity gossip or a high-profile divorce. It's about 13 years of shared life, careers, and experiences that unfolded under the intense scrutiny of Hollywood. From the moment they met, Jennifer and Ben were often described as one of Hollywood's golden couples, admired, envied, and constantly in the public eye. That context adds a layer of significance to every interaction, statement, or public appearance, including the recent events involving Lisa Barlow. Their 13-year marriage, which lasted until 2018, was marked by both public highs and private challenges. During their time together, they navigated the pressures of fame, demanding careers, and media speculation while raising 3 children. Fans followed their relationship closely, interpreting every public outing, interview, and social media post as a reflection of their personal lives. That attention didn't end with their divorce. Even years later, any public comment from either Jennifer or Ben instantly attracts scrutiny because of the shared history and the emotional resonance it still holds for the public. Jennifer Garner's approach to communication and privacy has always reflected her understanding of this weight. Unlike many celebrities who respond impulsively to gossip, Jennifer has maintained a consistent pattern of discretion and grace. Even after the divorce, she rarely made public statements about Ben, co-parenting, or their past relationship. She allowed her actions, her professionalism, her dedication to her children, and her selective public statements to define her narrative. That context makes her recent statement about restraint and secrecy particularly impactful. It isn't just advice about confidentiality in acting. It's a reflection of a lifetime of experience managing high-stakes personal and professional situations. Ben Affleck, in contrast, has often demonstrated a more direct and unfiltered approach to public statements. While this has made him relatable and candid, it also exposes him to heightened public scrutiny and reaction. The juxtaposition of Jennifer's measured words with Ben's dismissive response to Lisa Barlow amplifies the public perception of contrast between the two. Jennifer's reflection on restraint and secrecy is powerful not only because of the content, but because of who is saying it and the context of her long-shared past with Ben. Fans and commentators quickly recognized the layers of this dynamic. Jennifer's quiet reflection resonates even more when contrasted with the public and immediate nature of Ben's response. Their shared history transforms the story from a simple celebrity statement into a narrative about timing, perspective, and emotional intelligence. People aren't just interested in what was said. They're fascinated by the patterns of behavior, the personality contrasts, and the life experiences that inform how each of them handles public attention. Moreover, their history adds depth to the timing of Jennifer's statement. Speaking about restraint and discretion shortly after Ben's dismissive response gives the impression of an unspoken dialogue between the two, even if it's entirely coincidental. Fans interpret these moments as insight into the way both navigate fame and personal relationships, one with blunt immediacy, the other with careful thoughtfulness. The 13-year history they share ensures that even subtle statements carry enormous weight, shaping public perception and media narratives alike. Ultimately, understanding the weight of Jennifer and Ben's shared past allows audiences to see why this seemingly simple statement about secrecy has captured such attention. It's not just about what was said, it's about who said it, when it was said, and the decades of shared experiences that give her words depth, nuance, and resonance. This shared past transforms the moment into a narrative about more than gossip. It's about legacy, perception, and the power of contrast in the public eye. When all the pieces are put together, Lisa Barlow's casual comment, Ben Affleck's dismissive response, and Jennifer Garner's carefully measured statement, a pattern emerges. It's a story not just about celebrity encounters or fleeting gossip, but about the power of timing, contrast, and emotional intelligence in the public eye. While Ben's reaction grabbed immediate attention for its bluntness, Jennifer's quiet reflection stood out in a different, arguably more enduring way. Her words didn't need to name names or escalate drama. The timing and context did all the work, leaving fans and observers analyzing, interpreting, and discussing her perspective long after the statement aired. Jennifer's reflection on restraint and the careful management of secrets during her Alias days serves as more than an anecdote from a television set. It functions as a subtle lesson in handling sensitive situations, whether in Hollywood or in life. She reminded audiences that not everything requires an immediate response, that sometimes the most powerful statement is no statement at all. And in doing so, she highlighted a stark contrast with Ben's very public, very reactive approach. The interplay between these two approaches became a narrative in itself. Impulsive versus reflective, reactive versus measured, immediate versus thoughtful. The public fascination with this moment also reveals how audiences interpret celebrity behavior. In today's world, where social media and tabloids amplify every comment, the lines between coincidence, intent, and interpretation are blurred. Fans naturally look for meaning in timing, wording, and context. Jennifer's statement became compelling precisely because it was open-ended enough to invite analysis, yet deliberate enough to suggest purpose. It demonstrated that influence doesn't always come from noise, volume, or confrontation. Sometimes, the mere presence of thoughtful words is enough to capture attention and spark conversation. Furthermore, the story underscores a broader human truth. Silence, when timed correctly, can carry enormous weight. Jennifer didn't escalate, defend, or dramatize. She reflected. And in a culture obsessed with immediate reactions and viral moments, that reflection resonated deeply. It reminded audiences that grace, discretion, and patience can communicate more effectively than impulsive responses or reactive statements. Her words became a subtle yet powerful counterbalance to Ben's blunt public dismissal, and the contrast has captured the imagination of fans, media, and social commentators alike. The context of their shared history adds an additional layer of depth. 13 years together, 3 children, a high-profile career, and a widely publicized divorce mean that every public interaction, comment, or appearance carries an emotional and narrative weight. Jennifer's choice to speak carefully and her focus on restraint reflects not just her personality, but her experience navigating a life constantly in the spotlight. Fans recognize that this kind of measured response requires discipline, thoughtfulness, and perhaps even courage, qualities that enhance the significance of her statement in the midst of a very public controversy. In the end, this episode is a reminder that in Hollywood, as in life, the power of a statement often lies in its timing, delivery, and context rather than its volume. Jennifer Garner's quiet reflection amidst Ben Affleck's fiery public response demonstrates the lasting impact of thoughtful communication. It proves that words do not need to be loud to be powerful. Sometimes, the most memorable statements are the ones delivered with care, intention, and an understanding of the story beyond the moment. Fans and media alike have been left to ponder the significance of this exchange. Was it coincidence, subtle commentary, or simply a personal reflection? Perhaps it is all of these, or perhaps it is a reminder that in a world obsessed with spectacle, quiet strength often makes the loudest impression. Jennifer Garner has shown, once again, that restraint, timing, and clarity of thought can create a narrative that resonates far beyond the moment. A statement that lingers, inspires discussion, and ultimately speaks louder than headlines ever could.